Vale.
And I'm Dr. Steve G. Jones.
And today we're talking with Shelby Collinge. She's a speaker, author, mentor, thought leader, and Shelby teaches people how to have a success mindset and the power of perception, which is what we're going to talk about today. Shelby, what do you mean when you talk about the power of perception?
Well, the laid down easiest way to describe it is we decide what everything means. And a lot of people don't really totally engulf and grasp what that means, but we assign a meaning to absolutely everything. And a lot of people just have a filter, if you will, on things that are not positive. But the real nugget in it is that if something happens, you decide if this is a good thing, a bad thing, if this is something you can learn from or not, and everything is true with that. So like shopping, clothes, what you wear, what you eat. I mean, when you think about all the things that you like or dislike, the reality is that you made that choice. You made the decision, life experience. Maybe even somebody told you, your parents said, this is the way you do, you work hard. My dad used to tell me you work, you get retirement, you get the golden handcuffs he used to talk about, which if you're now, watching this as a teenager, you're like, golden handcuffs, I don't know what that is, retire, stay at the same company for your whole entire career. Like, can you imagine that now?
See, I'm starting to think racy stuff when you
But the reality is things change. And if you think about even when we were younger, about sunscreen, I can remember being young and my mom's girlfriend would lather baby oil with iodine all over her body and just cook outside for hours to get color. And now it's like the SPF and the zinc oxide, and all our beliefs have changed dramatically over the last couple of decades. Seat belts, when we were kids it was a lap belt.
Yeah. Then I stand up in the back seat.
Right. Station wagons, that's right. Child restraints. I mean, you think about the things that were so different only 10 years ago, and even like nowadays you have a baby and you have another one 3 years later, and the car seat that you had with the first one's outdated.
Yeah.
And now that's right. Now you need
and the crib. You got to get rid of the crib, get into the crib.
So like a lot of things, our perceptions get updated, but when it's the important things like how we get money, how relationships work, the roles of relationship, childbearing, we don't go in and update those perceptions, right? Somebody tells us something when we're young, we take that, and then we make that true. A lot of people don't understand that first you have the belief and then you make it true. It's not the other way around. Life doesn't get hard and then you go, oh, life's just hard on me. It's like first you have this belief that life's going to be hard. Somebody's taught it to you, modeled it to you, proven it to you with evidence. My dad used to say it was hard, you got to do these certain things. So as I got into corporate America, it was like I had to address whether or not I still wanted to believe what my perception was about work and working with males and being a female in a very male-dominated workplace. And I had to realize that a lot about what my dad told me was just not true. And it did not apply any longer. And even though I still loved my dad, and even though I knew, about what he made his whole entire life, that's another thing that a lot of gentlemen have problems with, is making more than their father, like breaking those thresholds that,
you have that?
Come before.
No, I actually don't. I do make more than my dad made, but
was that a conscious
No,
decision?
I never planned to do it. Plus, he works for the government. He was a marine acoustic engineer for the federal government, and
so you might have had a belief about what the federal government pays anyway, right? And maybe.
Maybe. I've never been money oriented, so for me that's not an issue. But I understand it is for a lot of males. It's like got to make more than
or
be more, get more.
And a lot of too when women are working now, a lot of males are getting tested. I know it's been one of the issues in relationships for me is if I make a lot more than they do, how they feel about that and what that brings to the dynamic of the relationship. And then, it's just amazing
how would you feel if a woman made more than you that you were with?
Oh boy, I don't know about that. No, I'm just kidding. I honestly don't.
But he's not a money-driven guy.
That's true. It's interesting. I have like a Siddhartha approach. I'm probably not a good test subject for this kind of conversation because I have a Siddhartha approach. I read Siddhartha by Herman Hesse a long time ago, and Siddhartha did very well in business, despite the fact that he didn't care. In fact, that's why he did well.
Right.
So that's kind of me.
That non-attachment.
Yeah, I'm not attached to money, but I'm attached to what I do, and because of that, I do very well financially.
Well, what if you were in a relationship and she wanted you to stay home with the kids?
I would be fine with that.
Oh, yeah?
I'm telling you, I'm kind
Really?
of off the grid with all that. Yeah, because
Okay.
I'm just very detached from concerns about ego and stuff
So
like that.
see, so that's that proof of that work, though, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And there's the non-attached to his perception. So
Right.
he's able to stay conscious before reacting to situations that a lot of people are just innately caught up into a story or a belief system. And remember, a belief is just a thought you think over and over and over again.
Right.
You know, people think like they're going to come to my office and I'm going to do this beliefectomy, and I open up the top of their head and I file through and find the bad genes, and you remove them and they leave perfectly fine. And that's just not the way it works, right? A belief is a thought you think over and then you believe it.
Okay.
So either somebody tells it to you enough times, like money doesn't grow on trees. My mother used to say that to me all the time as a kid.
Yeah.
It was like I wanted something, Christmas was coming, and she'd be like, money doesn't grow on trees. What do you think I'm made of? Money, you know, she had all these sayings.
My dad always said, "A fool and his money are soon parted."
Okay?
He'd always
Yeah.
say that.
See, so again,
Money is the root of all evil. Rich people.
but it's not really money, it's,
I know,
it's the,
the
love of money.
money.
See, a lot of these things get left out. in
They're urban
translation.
myths. They get, it's
Well-
like broken telephone.
Well, it's kind of like when your parents used to say, you know, I walked uphill both ways
Yeah.
in the rain. It's like you just kind of add a little bit of that drama to it, like secret sauce, right?
Right.
It's kind of how you keep kids at bay. But those same secret sauce that you keep the kids at bay when they get older
Ruin
as
them for
adults,
life.
they're ruined. It's like, oh, I can't do that
That's why we
because,
need people like you guys to straighten them out.
well, and to realize
She'll
that
straighten them out.
if there's something that you're not getting that you truly want, then that's your indicator that you've got some work to do on the beliefs, because you're never given an idea or a goal or a dream without also being given the means to achieve it. So if you're not achieving it, then it's really in you in that put through. Like
Okay, but how exactly do we figure out what beliefs and what perceptions are the ones holding us back?
look at your results.
Okay, but I can look at let's say I look at the results. Let's say, well, we were talking financial, so let's say, okay, I am making this much and I'd rather make this much, but how do I know what belief I have that's keeping me at this level instead of this level?
Well, first of all, if you've got that plateau, which everybody does, right? That's one of those secret things that, like, when you jump payment grids,
It's
a
the comfort
big,
zone
it's
level.
a big shift for a lot of people,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like the bills get astronomically bigger, the debt gets bigger, the responsibilities get bigger. But if you can look at your finances and say, you know, I always have more month than I do money, then that's an indicator, right? What's your belief about riches? I mean, people don't seriously ask themselves what they believe about money. Then they call me and I go, okay, well, what do you believe about money? And they're like, oh, there's never enough of it. It goes so fast. Cash. You know, I tell people one of the first things they can do is go to the bank and get like $2,000 and carry it on your person and watch the beliefs start coming up about it's not safe. What if I get robbed? That's just way too much cash to carry. And so a lot of people don't do the things to push themselves out of the comfort zone to start to realize, right? They can't look at the results and go, I've lived in the same place for the last 20 years. See, this is a thing with my sister. She bought her house, say 12 years ago, and she says to me, this is the house I'm gonna die in. And it's like, I about passed out. I almost needed smelling salts. Like the thought of knowing when she was 26 that this would be the house that she would die in is just limiting and
Sounds like an
cruel to
exciting
me.
person.
And she's a Cancer too.
Oh goodness,
So,
nothing wrong with cancers.
I know.
The zodiac
I
sign.
love cancers.
The zodiac sign.
right.
Yes.
But the thing is that, you know, that was her limited thinking. Like, I'm going to buy this house, I'm going to pay it off in 30 years, and then I'm going to be a great American. And, you know, that's her white picket fence dream. Whereas I have owned a number of homes, and you really couldn't convince me to buy another one right now. But so my perceptions have changed. And it's not okay. I mean, it's not bad if you don't want things updated. But if you're not getting the results that you want, then that's where you have to start to notice. You really have to get,
Some house cleaning.
yes, it's like mental cobwebs.
Okay, so what about when we're, dating somebody or in a relationship and people tend to say, oh, it's the other person's problem, it's the other person's fault. How do we shift that and look at ourselves instead of the other person?
Okay, so relationships are a great mirror because if it triggers you, then you know there's something in it for you.
Okay,
So
so if you're crying, if you're angry, if you're yelling, if you're upset,
That's good.
Okay.
I mean, it may not feel like it right initially.
It's like it's a sign.
But there's something in it for you. Now,
Okay.
here's the thing about relationships is when you first meet somebody, everybody, that's how you fall in love. It's like you have a filter of, I really like this person. And so your thresholds for what you will tolerate are very low, right? It's like, or very high, I should say. You can handle anything. They can be late. It's like, oh, I still love you and you're dreamy. And then you show up and it's like, you know, you overlook a lot of things in the beginning. It's like everything is kind of taken gracefully.
Love
And
is
then
blind.
as 9 months to a year approach, that novelty feeling kind of wears off a little bit. Now the person hasn't changed at all, right? They were still always the 5-10 minutes late, or maybe forgot things here and there, but now your tolerance for what you're going to handle has gone down. So now they do something, leave the toilet seat up, don't call when they say they're gonna call, they're late. And now it's like, you know, I really don't appreciate that. Now you call 3 friends, right? You tell them now he's doing this, and really nothing has changed. What's changed is you and what you're now looking at and focusing on. And so,
But
Right.
what if he did start becoming later and later because he
Do you have
became
a specific
comfortable
person
in
in
the
mind?
relationship?
yeah.
Now, what if he on Tuesday
You want to put your
didn't
feet
call?
back up?
I don't know. Yeah, no, I've never had this him being late thing.
Okay.
But it's a good example because I know a lot of people experience that. But what if it happens to be that it's not just he's always been 5 minutes late and he still is 5 minutes late and my perception has changed, but he also became more comfortable in the relationship and now he really is later and later and later.
Uh-oh.
So here's the
Draw the
thing,
line.
we teach people how to treat us. So all of us, when we met today, as we're going, we kind of teach each other what's working, what doesn't work, where you can push lines, where you can't. And it's just the way,
I just do what Heather tells me to do.
right?
It's the
And that
best
makes
approach.
it easiest
Yes.
for you. So, but
Because
again,
he's tried the other way and
Didn't
it was
work.
not.
and you've taught him,
Yeah.
right? So let's be honest, your interactions over time have taught what works. So you have to take that responsibility, again, 100% responsibility, that if somebody is constantly late, then you've allowed that
Right.
to be part of
Yeah.
okay. And if you did it for 9 months, now you need to say, you know what, I did it for 9 months because I thought you were just groovy dreamy, and now it's getting a little old and we need to correct it. But the reality is that you're still in control about what you will and won't tolerate. And this is big with parenting as well too. You know, I used to say with my son as he was getting older, you know, I'm getting pushed past my comfort level. I just want to let you know, like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at an 8 right now.
I'm ready to blow.
Uh-oh.
So
That's kind
you
of a De
need,
Niro thing when you do that.
well,
An
it's
8
like
right
I'm
now.
at an 8 right now,
Yeah.
and then you realize, and so I would be constantly kind of giving him the feedback that if you keep going down this road, there will be consequences. And a lot of us don't do that. It's like we just think you should know to not be late. You should know to be on
Right.
time. But there's never been a conversation about it, right? A lot of things just kind of, we're sloppy about a lot of things. And especially when it comes to business relationships, people don't know. And so if you haven't been clear, then my advice would be get clear. Say, hey, you know what, my time's just as valuable as yours. I really would appreciate it if you'd be on time. If not, push it back 15 minutes. You know, I had a colleague that was always that way, so I knew if I needed her there at 9:30, I would tell her 9:15 or 9:10, and knowing that I had that 20-minute built-in buffer, and that solved the problem, right?
Right, okay.
So now you just say, oh, be there at 9:15, you can show up late, he can be there on time, but really he's there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's about how long you want, how hard or soft you want to take it. Again, the perception about if this is this big hairy deal. You know, I tell people you got to pick your battles mentally about everything. You know, if this is something that's a deal breaker, if this is something that's an easy thing that you can just, you know, mitigate quickly and not a lot of ruffles, the choice is always yours. But realizing that you're the one in the control of the choice, and if you
That
want to make
makes-
a big deal or not.
That makes perfect sense. So as we wrap up, can you spend about a minute and just tell us some action items that we can take to clean up everything related to our perception?
Yes. Okay. So the biggest, bestest one, and I know bestest really isn't a word.
I love that word.
Justified.
But
Awesome.
favoritist is another one that I use. That's my
Perfect.
favoritist. Is to really make everything mean something good.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's the experiment. And this is really what I want you to do, is make it an experiment, because your mind will stay open if you make it an experiment. If it's like, oh, just go out there and speak affirmations, the mind goes, not going to happen. But believe it or not, a lot of us, maybe the chemists not so much, but a lot of us, when you make it an experiment, that mind still stays open. And like in a parachute, a mind really only works when it's open. So when you say, oh, I'm going to make this an experiment, the mind keeps listening. And you say, okay, so for today, I'm going to make everything mean something good. So no matter what it is.
I've actually
email,
been doing that lately.
every
I
phone
totally
call,
have.
every look, every person you meet, everything you make mean something good. And watch what it does for you, right? The proof will be in the, oh my gosh, I feel better. Oh my gosh, my life is better. This is easier. People are friendlier. It's just going to be like a total awakening to just make everything, even the nasty letter you get or the bill or whatever it is, you've got to make it mean something good. And with that experiment mentality, and you'll see huge shifts.
Like, for
Very
example, it could be that it made you stronger, it helped you learn something.
However you got to dig.
Right.
You know, Brian Tracy said to me a gazillion years ago, it seems like, one of his stories, it was like this big mountain of manure. And he's like, you know, there's two kids. One that looks at it and goes, oh, a pile of manure, and leaves. The other kid goes, I'm going to start digging in it. There's got to be a pony in here somewhere. And the reality is there's a pony in every pile. So bless your mess. You know, that's a big...
Yeah.
Well, on that
I like
note,
to say silver lining in every cloud. That's even better.
perfect.
Bless your
perfect.
mess. That's right.
Well, thank you very much. And where can people learn more about you?
My website, www.shelbycollinge.com.
Very nice.
Thanks,
Shelby.
Shelby.
Thank you.